Okay, good evening and welcome to our episode 21 and welcome to 2021. As always, let's begin with our gratitude attitude. So, if you would please gently close your eyes and take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath and this time relax some more. Take one more deep breath and completely relax yourself. Now, think of one thing that you are thankful for that happened in the last 1 week. Once you have identified that, think about why you are thankful. And now, let's make it free. If you are by yourself, please say it out loud what you are thankful for and why. If you are with someone, say it to each other. Okay, so now that the holidays are over, let's examine what brings delusions in our lives and how to reduce them. I'm sure during the holiday season, most of you at some point confronted your delusions. They come in any form: anger, jealousy, hatred, attachment, ignorance, greed, etc. If we look at the root of our delusions, usually it boils down to two things: self cherishing and self grasping ignorance. What does that mean? Self cherishing is a mind that thinks I am important. Self cherishing is nothing but a belief that our happiness, our comfort, our views, our thought process is superior to that of the other person. In other words, it's the same as supremacy. So let's explore this a little bit. When we have disagreement with someone, it's because we consider our opinion to be superior to that of the another person. Because of our ego or me delusion, all of our viewpoints are tainted. If we have tinted windows on our car, for example, everything outside looks of that color. Let's look at all the wars in the world. They are rooted in this belief of supremacy. We have the new administration coming in, and I noticed the Iranians started to ramp up their uranium production, right? Just to show them that, hey, we are macho. So, these things happen. Let me tell you an interesting story actually. A few years ago, I was getting a massage, and my masseuse asked me, "How's your day going?" So I casually told her that, listen, I was dealing with some not so competent insurance people all day and a little bit frustrated. So out of nowhere, she says, "Do you think you're smarter than everyone else?" And I said, "Yeah, most days I have the smartest person in the room syndrome." What she said next was very profound. She said, "The universe gives you what you want. The universe gives you what you want. You want to be the smartest person, so it sends you people who are not as up to speed." So I thought it was a unique way to look at the whole world. But in essence, it was that supremacy that was bringing frustration. So Geshe Kelsen Gesto is a Buddhist monk. Uh, he put it wonderfully. He says the moment we let go of our obsessive concern for our own welfare, moment we let go of our obsessive concern for our own welfare, our mind naturally relaxes and becomes lighter. So the moment you let go of self-cherishing, the mind relaxes and becomes lighter. The second reason we experience our delusion is what's known as self grasping ignorance. It's just a fancy way of saying that we grasp at ourselves and its inherent existence. Self grasping ignorance is also known as separation. So, self cherishing is supremacy, self grasping ignorance is separation. We have created this boundary around us, separating ourselves from other living beings. So this is similar to, you know, the saying that goes, "My cold is worse than yours." My cold is worse than yours because it's not happening to me. So if we erase that boundary, my cold versus any cold, right? Then the world would be a much better place. How so? Let's look at it. We strongly identify with ourselves and grasp it so tightly that nothing is more important than our I. If our boundary only includes us, then we focus on our happiness over all else. If our boundary includes our family, right? So we say, okay, me, my spouse, and my kids, then all of a sudden we are willing to make little sacrifices for greater good of our family. And most people stop right there. It's either us or us and our family, but that's about it. But if we all begin to erase those boundaries around our community, let's say, we would all try our best to make sure everyone in our community is better off. If you think about that same war analogy we talked about, it also applies here. There are wars because there is separation. We all identify strongly with something or other: man, woman, American, Indian, Republican, Democrat, black, white, brown, Hindu, Christian, Jew, so on and so forth. The politicians of this world are actively creating more identities based on race, gender, and so forth. As a result, we are actively trying to divide the world instead of uniting it, and that causes delusions. So, removing this boundary, right? One way we can do this is to give or work for something bigger than ourselves. I tell my kids since they were probably in second grade that do something bigger than yourself, something other than yourself, right? For a bigger cause. In other words, if we begin to identify a little less with ourselves and start erasing the boundaries around us to include more living beings, right? We'll begin to notice that our delusions are going down. So, similarly, if we reduce our self cherishing, we'll reduce our delusions. One way to do this is to, you know, give for a cause, and no matter what, uh, do some mundane work for a cause, for example, right? If you're volunteering somewhere, try to go and do, just clean up. You don't have to, run the whole show, right? But know that it's for a much bigger cause, and that helps reduce these delusions. So, what we'll do in our meditation today is a little bit different. I've been trying to introduce different meditation techniques throughout this process. So, this is a little bit new to us. We'll first settle down, as always, at our heart through focusing on our breath. Then we'll observe awareness of the universe. If a thought arises, we'll label it today. Every thought that comes to our mind, we'll put a label on it, we'll put a name on it. Does not matter what label we put on a particular thought. There is no right or wrong. You will notice that once we put a label on a thought, a new thought may pop up. If we begin to label like this in meditation, hopefully we will begin to identify thoughts that show up in our day to day life. And we'll label like, say happy, skillful, sad, anxious, whatever you want to label your thought. But once you start identifying that, right, then we'll stop automatically dropping those negative thoughts because it has a negative label to it. How wonderful is that? So let's try to do that. Let's get into our meditation posture. Just sit in a cross legged position or keep your legs straight. Make sure your back is straight, your spine is erect, and gently close your eyes. Keep your mouth just a little bit open so any tension you may have in your jaws gets relieved. Now, take a deep breath. Take another deep breath and relax all your muscles. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. Feel the cool air going in and slightly warmer air breathing out. Focus on your breath for a minute or so. Now settle down at your heart. Just observe the awareness. No thoughts, just awareness. If a thought arises, begin to label that particular thought: happy, sad, excited, anxious, whatever that may be. Next thought comes up, do the same. Go back to the awareness when the thoughts dissolve. If your thought brought you to a dreamland, please come back. Focus your attention on your breath for about 5 to 10 breaths, and then bring your attention to your awareness. Again, if a thought arises, just label it and go back to observing the awareness. When the thought arises, continue to label the thought. If you find yourself in la la land, bring yourself back, focus yourself on sensation of the breath for about 5 to 10 breaths. Now, contemplate what you could do realistically to reduce self cherishing and self grasping ignorance, the boundary we create around us, and how you can incorporate that in your daily life. Think about that for a minute or so. Now, make a determination to reduce self cherishing and separation and focus on that determination single pointedly. When you are ready, gently open your eyes. Okay, let's open up for questions. No questions today. All right then. Go ahead, Uncle.
Nero, question.
Yes, please.
Uh, like you get multiple thoughts, one after another, or sometimes in sequence. How
Correct.
do you label them basically? Like before you start thinking that what type of thought it is, or you want to label it, there's a continuous stream of thoughts coming basically.
So if you have continuous thought and it doesn't give you chance to label it, go back to your breath. That means our mind has not settled down yet. So if you just focus on that breathing, maybe some days are better than others, right? But if you focus on that breathing for maybe 5 minutes, then it will allow you to come one at a time as opposed to thousand at a time. It never comes thousand at a time. It feels like that because it's in a sequence, like you said, right? One after another, after another, after another. So the best way to do handle that is to go back to breathing for a longer period of time and settle down our minds.
On Nira, there is one thought.
Yeah,
You can label it positive also, and you can label it negative also.
right.
So, how are you going to label it? Are you
So
going to label it positive or negative?
don't worry about whether it's a right label or wrong label. Just whatever comes to your mind, the first thing comes to your mind without thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Label it and
Oh,
move on to the next thought because next thought's going to show up very soon, right?
yeah.
The whole idea about this exercise is that if we keep doing this in our meditation, then during the day when these thoughts come, we will be able to label them, and then hopefully because of that we'll be able to stop these negative thoughts, right? It's good to have positive thoughts. Idea is to stop these negative thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I think what I feel that this all the human nature, like our thinking for possession of anything, either fame or money or status or whatever you call it basically, it comes from the physical aspect of praise by others. Rather than we ourselves enjoying that, we hear other people praising us, and that puts our ego at a higher level. And we run for something more than what we deserve.
And it
Or,
never ends. See, that's the thing. You're absolutely right. Ego is what feeds all these things, right? That is self-cherishing, is this ego. But it never ends in a sense that if and this is not my original thought, this is Sadhguru story. Let's say somebody put you in a 6 by 6 jail, right? You can't get out, you are miserable, and you say, you know what, I wish I had, these boundaries were not there for next 50 feet. And then all of a sudden next day you have 50 feet by 50 feet cell. So you're happy for a day or so, and then all of a sudden that is small, that's not big enough, right? So in physical world we always want more, and it's never enough, right? Whether it's praise or money or whatever you call it, right? We always want more. Once we are used to getting at certain level, right, then we want more than that. When we achieve that we are happy for a while, but then that becomes a new norm and we want more than that, right? And that's what we want to train our mind, to be content and not, you know, uh, run after this. Like I'm running crazily after this 100 countries nonsense, right? I mean, I was just thinking about it. It has no meaning, right? But it's in my head for last 10 years, and I'm running crazy after it. It just makes no sense.
Uh,
Then there won't be any fun in the life. There is no challenge, nothing.
Mm,
Then what is the sense of?
no, 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 no. There is a lot we can do without, you know, running after something, right? You can still have fun without going after that, right? There is so much suffering in this world. We can try to, take a cause, pick a cause which we like, right? And go after it, whatever your cause may be, right? Some people help poor, some people help kids, some people help, unhealthy, whatever your cause may be. There's so much things you can do. If you think about, Andy, we are better off than most anybody else in this world. 99% of 99.9% of the people in this world are worse off than you are. People have abject poverty, right? We don't even know what that means. I think we ever been hungry more than 10 hours, right? 24 most if you're Jain.
I do agree with that. I'll tell you a very, it's not a true story, but it's very well said. A young engineer, he joins very big company, and then he has been asked that how much salary you want. So he says, okay, give me X amount of dollar or rupees.
Right,
So the guy who's taking the interview says, okay, I'll give you X plus 10%.
right.
He's happy. He says, okay, after 15 days, I will join. He started working, he's happy for a week, two, then suddenly he becomes unhappy. And then people ask him, why, what happened? He says, but the guy who is sitting next to me, he is getting more than me. He has the same qualification, same job, but he's getting more than me.
Yeah.
So I think the moment you start comparing yourself with others and you simply run after that, that makes you unhappy.
And that's the challenge with modern society, is that
One,
that's all we do, right?
even
If
it's a job or business or anything.
everything, it's, uh, you won't believe so many of my friends in this community, right? Oh, you got it all. Like, come on, we all have it all. It's just in your head, right? But it's difficult to grasp, and not everyone grasps. And whoever grasps is a happy person. That's all it there is to it. There's no magic to happiness beyond that contentment. So, all right.